Welcome to Dialogues from the President's Corner. I'm your host, Rosemary Plyven, along with Dr. Lawrence Zarda, president of Greensboro College. I cannot count how many times I've heard Dr. Zarda say that there is not another Anne Hurd, and there will not ever be another Anne Hurd. She has quite literally spent her whole life at Greensboro College as a daughter of staff, as a student, as a staff member herself. She is truly the heart of the college. As she embarks on retirement and new adventures, we had to get her into the podcast studio just one more time. So welcome once again, Anne Hurd.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Well, we are. It is really. Can you describe your 3-generation family ties to Greensboro College?
So my mother, Jean Edwards Jones, graduated in 1958, and then my dad joined the staff as the assistant business manager in 1963, and I took piano here as a child, learned to swim in the pool, was flower girl in May Day for the Queen was Gail Brower Huggins.
We know that name.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then attended and graduated. And then my brother behind me graduated in 1984. I graduated in 1981. And then my daughter graduated in 2011.
And even before you were born, your parents married here.
My parents got married in Finch Chapel, my mom's senior year.
Some beautiful pictures of that.
And ironically, just this weekend, we found out that my daughter's great-great-grandmother on her father's side graduated from Greensboro Female College in 1886.
I had not heard that.
Wow.
We had not heard that either. We find new things in the long green line, as we call it, every day.
Wow.
So looking back over your time being affiliated with Greensboro College for so long, when you were coming of college age, was there a thought that you wouldn't attend Greensboro College?
Well, my plan was to go for 2 years. And at that time, it was not easy for women to be admitted to Carolina or some of the big state schools. So many of us went to a 2-year school like St. Mary's or Peace and then transferred to Carolina. So that was my plan, was to go to Greensboro College for 2 years and then transfer to Carolina. Well, then Ben Wilson, who was my English professor and advisor, said, well, you need to stay at Greensboro College because the chances of you being editor of the Daily Tar Heel are not large. But if you will stay, you will be editor of the Collegian next year, your junior year. And he said, you will have leadership opportunities doing that you would never have at Carolina or anywhere else. And that is the reason I stayed and graduated.
So you chose not to enter the transfer portal.
Correct. Even though Aqua Bells were in great demand at that time.
We're going to get to the Aqua Bells in just a moment. We're not letting you go without hearing about this. But really, I mean, so it really sets you up for, leadership in so many ways and really set the tone for your career.
It did. It really did. My first job out of college was as a reporter for a very small newspaper in South Carolina, which I was totally qualified for because I had been an editor.
You had done it.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back a little bit further because I want to know, what is your very first memory of Greensboro College?
Probably May Day. I mean, I was around before then. My parents would bring me over for graduations and things like that when I was young. But May Day was an early memory. But also when I was young, college students really loved the kids of the faculty and staff. And so we hung around here a lot. They had parties for us. I spent the night in Greensboro building with 2 members of the class of 1968, Fran and Susan. Some people will know them. They took us to the circus, and then I spent the night in the dorm.
Oh, fun.
When I was in 2nd grade, we had an ice storm in Greensboro, and the power went off at our house. And so my parents packed up my brother, me, and sleeping bags and our hamsters and brought us to main building because main building had heat because we had the big boilers at that time. And so the office that is now my office, that was my dad's office at the time. I spent the night in it. Well, actually, we spent 3 days and ran up and down the halls on 2nd floor main. And so
those are some nice memories.
I literally did grow up here.
Talk a little bit about your time as a student here, the atmosphere, maybe some of your favorite classes. And here's a chance you can also talk about the Aqua Bells. I won't be offended.
I loved my English classes, and that's one reason I became an English major. I just loved literature. I loved writing. That captured my attention. And my dad said, major in something that you enjoy. And then you can always go back to graduate school. At that point, I thought I might want to be a lawyer. And I worked one summer with an internship through Greensboro College and decided that's not what I wanted to be. But I did have the opportunity to try it, which was very important.
Well, and of course, that's, finding out what you don't want to do is almost more important than finding out what you do want to do when you're in college. Dr. Zarda, when was the first time you met Anne?
Yeah, probably a little longer answer than you expect, because I'll tell you about how long I've known of Anne and
Oh.
then how long I've known her. When the presidential search was underway in 2009, late 2009, I became a finalist, and I did my research and wanted to find out who was on the search committee, who were the key people on campus. And as it turns out, as president of the Alumni Association, Anne's mother was on the search committee. And so when I talked to the chair of the search committee, Walter Newton, who's very well known on campus, he's very loyal to the college, I asked for some other names. Who else should I know? Who else should I be at least finding out who they are? And Anne's name came up then. So I've known about Anne since December of 2009. And I met Anne in January when I was on campus for the finalist interviews. There were 3 of us that were brought to campus. And I met her then. I think it was in the chapel when we did the open forum for all 3 candidates just to talk to the faculty and the staff. So 15 going on 16 years.
And you immediately knew we have to keep her as long as we possibly can here.
Well, she was involved with the college then, but she was not working for the college then. I then got to know Anne when she became president of the Alumni Association a few years later, which means she was on the board of trustees and one of my bosses. Anne and I began talking about joining the college full-time probably about 11 or 12 years ago. And she's been on campus back as a vice president for 10 years now. So it's been a full decade where I've seen her more or less every day.
And I know you have said that working in your father's former office, really completing a lot of the work that he started, has been your greatest professional honor. What else about this job have you loved? Any interesting stories that maybe you can share?
Lots of interesting stories. I love working with the donors. I hear their stories. And just this morning, I just like half an hour ago, a man showed up at my door with a $33,000 check.
Wow.
For a man who had left an estate gift for Greensboro College to honor his wife. And he just wanted to tell me about them. And so, that's part of the joy, is talking to people and finding out, what led them to do this. And especially it helps them honor and live on, helps the legacy of those that they loved. And that is part of the joy of this job. My dad started the Planned Giving program in 1974. And so for the last, 10 years, many of the estate gifts that he helped to establish matured, is what we called it, is what you call it. But it's a joyful thing because it's so nice to help these people to know that you're fulfilling what they wanted to do, to help their alma mater. And there are so many grateful alumni like me, who didn't know what Greensboro College would mean to them, didn't realize what an effect, long-term effect, that being part of the Long Green Lab would have on their life.
I love that.
It's very special.
So I get a lot of questions from people in the general community as well as the Greensboro College community about, what is Anne going to be doing? Because she is retiring. This is not where we can't work together anymore. She's chosen to take another job. She is retiring. But I've assured people that she will be involved with the college. I have promised not to abuse her time and ask for a lot of free consulting. But Anne, what will you be doing in retirement? Because it is now just a couple weeks away.
Well, you've all heard me say I love a capital campaign. And so I will be working as a consultant to help other nonprofits with their capital campaigns. That not against Greensboro College. No, there will be no one who's competing with us on that. But I love philanthropy. I love talking about it, helping nonprofits and to maximize their resources and to connect what their donors want with what their priorities are. And that's just going to be a joy to do that every day, or 2 days a week, or whatever it ends up.
There you go.
Whatever it ends up being. Plus, we lost my dad a year ago, and Mom is doing fine, but she needs more of my time. And so I want to spend it with her and my grandchildren.
Lots of good things to do.
And my husband, too.
Yes. And of course
there's Johnny.
And my children, especially my grandchildren.
And of course, you'll come back and you're going to be cheering
Yes.
and coming to events. We'll see you some, I know. Yes. Well, what is something about Greensboro College you want our listeners to know? Maybe what is, the thing that has really tied you here and kept you wanting to be here?
I would not be who I am without Greensboro College. I grew up with the children of the faculty and the staff here. Jean Loico, who just retired a couple of years ago, was a longtime professor. She and I grew up together. I grew up with Jim Locke's children and Jim Hull's children and all the professors and people who influenced so many people. We all grew up together. And the college, it was a family. And so, which was interesting because I attended college and had professors that had known me all my life, and I had to be on my P's and Q's. But GC's just always been a special place. And I think, and Dr. Zarda would agree with me, for small 4-year liberal arts colleges, they are a special place to learn and to grow. And I appreciate every moment I've had here for the last however many years, not just working, but a lifetime.
Well, the college is certainly better for you having been a part of it for all these years, and all of us are better for having known you. And we look forward to just many more fun times ahead.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to subscribe to Greensboro College Dialogues from the President's Corner wherever you watch or listen. Learn more about all the good things happening at the college by following us on social media at Greensboro College and online at greensboro.edu.